Hi, I'm Scott Moore with Moore Engineering. I'm here to give you a little bit of an introduction in some of the equipment that we use and some of the things that we can do with it. Specifically, I'm going to talk a lot about using a drone, what we can do with a drone, but I wanted to give you kind of a basis for some of the other work that we do. Right here I have a BOT 3000E. BOT stands for Binary Output Tribometer, and this uses a SBR sensor to measure the dynamic coefficient of friction of a surface. So it basically takes the sensor and drags it along the surface like that to measure how slippery it is. And it's completely automated, it's run by a computer, and you basically just push a button and make it go. I make it sound really simple because it is pretty simple, it's pretty repeatable as well, which is the reason we use this device. A couple other things that I have here, and then I'll go into the drone. So we have a couple of gloss meters. These are used for measuring the gloss and reflectivity of flooring surfaces. Typically for what we're working on and what we're talking about here relative to litigation, slip, trips, and falls, this is not something that you'd use, but we use these for quality control for construction testing for different polished surfaces and other types of flooring surfaces generally in the construction industry. We have some roughness gauges back here. Same thing, they're used for measuring the roughness of surfaces. Not something that you'd use in a slip and fall investigation necessarily, but it could be useful in some circumstances. This is for measuring moisture in concrete. That's one of the specialty tests that we do and we're kind of known for. People screw the test up a lot. And we are one of the few companies that do it right because it's one of the services that we provide primarily. We have a few technicians that they're specifically certified to do that testing, and we market specifically to flooring contractors and general contractors for that type of work. This is a really, really fancy tool that's used to measure the thickness of films. It's extremely boring. But it looks fancy. So let me get back in it. Let me get into the drone portion where this is something that we've added as a service for a couple of different reasons. In construction, using drones is becoming much more common. And believe it or not, you can do things like you can use drone photos and video to create three-dimensional models of buildings and even parking lots to be able to understand how drainage works, what a building looks like, or create a 3D environment. That's something that we're starting to get into right now. But the primary reason that we got into doing drone work is that a lot of the circumstances where we're looking at an accident that happened, especially with a snow removal accident, getting people familiar with what the area looks like and the different site features that would affect things like ice forming on a parking lot or puddles or piles of snow. Getting an aerial video and aerial photograph is incredibly useful. We've had a couple of cases where this was really, really helpful to really see. One example is on a parking garage, seeing the way that the parking garage slopes, and if you had a snow pile in one location, where that snow pile would drain and where ice would, of course, form. So this is one of the fleet of drones that we have. This is actually a dual sensor drone, which means if you can see it, there are two sensors here. One is a photographic sensor, just like what's in your cell phone or what's on a camera. The other one is an infrared sensor, and it collects infrared light. So you can actually see temperature differences using this drone, which is useful for determining where leaks are in buildings and roofs and stuff like that that may have created a wet surface on a floor or something like that. But that's one of the drones that we have, one of the controllers that we have as well. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of instances where we've been able to use a drone to assess a property and also to provide a really good exhibit, a video exhibit for a jury to consider. I found in a couple of different circumstances that exhibit can be very, very helpful in orienting a jury or really anybody trying to understand a situation as to the layout of the property. We've had a couple of situations where and can start very high up and get a very big kind of an overlay look at what's around, and then you can drop down into a very, very specific area. Also looking at a larger facility like a mall, like in this circumstance here, where you can see it from a very far away distance. You can see the whole thing. You can see all the different structures around it, and then you can come down and be very specific and look at one specific area. And again, this is a great way to orient people, but it's also a great way to collect information. One circumstance that we've had success using it is in a circumstance where a facility is closed. We have a facility that's closed right now. It's a secure facility, and we cannot do an actual inspection. And I suggested to our client that we get permission to fly into the facility or over the facility. There's a chain link fence around it. Now, the facility in question is actually a halfway house. And so technically, by FAA rules, you're not allowed to fly over a prison. But of course, if you have a permission to do that, that's something that was very helpful in securing conversations between the plaintiff and defense in that case. Now you have the opportunity to do an inspection, and do they even want to do one? So it's an interesting tool that can collect data, and also one that can be used in strategy. Hey, he's going to do a drone inspection of the roof. Technically, the way FAA rules work, we've had a couple of situations where we've asked to do inspections of roofs, physical inspections, and we have not been allowed, and the drone makes that really, really easy because you don't need permission to go over top of a roof and take pictures of it with a drone. It's completely legal to do that as long as you're not violating any of the FAA regulations, which are mostly relative to controlled airspace. So if you have an interest in talking about a drone video or photographs relative to an engagement or any other thing, when we are doing other types of services, one of the big things right now is real estate. It's not something that we've done, but of course, if you're trying to sell your house and you need a video, we are more than willing to take a look at that. If you have any other questions, you can reach us on the email and at our website that are in the caption of this video. And thanks for your time, and hope this was helpful. If you want to make an appointment or meet with us during any of the trade shows that we're using these videos for, specifically the New Jersey Association for Justice, you can look at the Zoom links on this page and go ahead and do that. Thanks. Test more, slip less.